Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is honestly one of the most epic, unbelievable true stories I've ever come across. We're talking about a guy who literally engineered his way through history. Just imagine starting out your career making these magical clockwork toys and then somehow evolving into a national hero who helps save your entire country from being conquered. And oh yeah, as if that wasn't enough, he then goes on to lay the foundation for a massive modern tech giant. We are looking at the incredible life of Tanaka Hisashige, a man known back then as the Wizard of Bakumatsu. So let's just dive right in.
It sounds like the plot of a crazy adventure movie, right? What if a kid who was completely obsessed with mechanical tricks could somehow bridge a 100-year technological gap and save Japan from becoming a colony? Our story takes place in the 19th century, right in the middle of this massive global upheaval, where one man's sheer unstoppable curiosity actually became the ultimate defense for an isolated island nation.
Now, Tanaka's rebellious spirit showed up super early. As the eldest son of a traditional craftsman who made tortoiseshell goods, everybody expected him to just take over the safe, respectable family business. But young Tanaka, he completely rejected that path. He famously told his family that he wanted to make a name for himself through invention and ingenuity alone, leaving the traditional craft to his younger brother. He didn't care about the past, he was entirely focused on the mechanics of the future.
So how exactly does a rebellious kid become a wizard?
Well, we have to go back to the Edo period. At this time, Japan had been deeply, strictly isolated from the rest of the world for nearly 2 centuries. Imagine a world with no steam engines, absolutely no electricity, and no modern factories. And into this quiet, traditional society is born a boy with this insatiable curiosity. By the time he was just 9 years old, Tanaka was already blowing people's minds. He built this thing called the unopenable box, a wooden case that completely baffled all his classmates. No matter how hard they pulled, pried, or smashed at it, it wouldn't open. But with a secret hidden twist from Tanaka, it popped right open. It was his very first magical invention. And that childhood curiosity quickly grew into something much bigger. In his 20s, Tanaka left his hometown, hit the road, and traveled across Japan. He quickly became famous nationwide under the stage name Karakuri Gimon. Now, to really grasp how famous he was, you have to understand what karakuri actually means. These were traditional Japanese mechanized puppets. But guys, these were absolutely not your simple everyday string puppets. These were highly intricate clockwork engineering marvels hidden beneath beautiful kimonos. They were designed to trick, surprise, and entertain massive crowds. And honestly, nobody built them quite like Tanaka did. I mean, just look at some of his absolute masterpieces. He made this tea-serving doll that didn't just rigidly roll forward. It actually stopped perfectly in front of a guest and waited for them to take the cup. Then there's a letter-writing doll. It would move its head and its eyes as if it were deep in thought, and then paint 4 distinct Japanese characters with perfect flowing brushstrokes. And my personal favorite, the bow shooting boy, it would automatically draw a tiny bow, load an arrow, and fire 4 of them into a target. These things looked totally alive. We are literally talking about 19th century robotics here. But here's the thing about Tanaka. He wasn't satisfied with just entertaining people at festivals. He deeply believed that technology must enrich people's lives. So he pivoted. He started making practical things for the home, like this perfectly folding, pocket-sized portable candlestick. Even more impressively, he invented the Mujinto. This was a brilliant air pressure lamp that fed oil to the wick automatically. It burned so bright and lasted for so long that it literally saved lives because doctors could finally perform complex medical care late into the night. It was a total game changer. Moving into his later years, all those skills began to combine into one ultimate project. By 1851, at the age of 53, Tanaka really reached the absolute peak of his craft. He took everything he knew, traditional metalwork, astronomy, complex engineering, and built his magnum opus, the Manen Doke, or the Myriad Year Clock. Just to give you a sense of scale here, this single clock was built with over 1,000 meticulously handcrafted parts, over 1,000. And almost every single gear, spring, and tiny pin was fabricated by Tanaka himself. The guy was basically a one-man manufacturing plant. And the features on this clock, they are just mind-blowing, even today. First off, it runs for a full year on a single wind, which is powered by these massive 4-meter-long brass springs hidden inside the base. Second, and this is where he really flexed his genius, it mapped the traditional Japanese time system. Now back then, the length of an hour actually changed depending on the season. Summer hours were different from winter hours. To solve this insane puzzle, Tanaka invented a total unique mechanism called an insect gear that automatically adjusted the spacing on the clock face depending on the time of year. Add a rotating celestial globe tracking the sun and moon over Kyoto on top of that, and you've got a level of engineering that modern experts honestly still struggle to fully replicate. But right when he reached the peak of his art, the entire world shifted beneath his feet. History was about to violently interrupt his work. The year is 1853. The United States Navy suddenly arrives in Japan with heavily armed, steam-powered vessels known as the Black Ships. In an instant, Japan's peaceful isolation is totally shattered. Picture this. On one side, you have Western military tech, massive iron-hulled ships and heavy, long-range cannons born from the Industrial Revolution. On the other side, you have Japan's Edo tech, wooden sailing ships and samurai armor. The technological gap was literally 100 years. Japan faced this immense, terrifying pressure: either modernize immediately or become a colonized nation. So what do? Who do you call when your entire country needs an industrial revolution overnight? You call the wizard, of course. Tanaka was recruited by the Saga domain, which was a progressive regional government, to build up their defenses. Working frantically, he miraculously reverse-engineered Western technology. Just from reading Dutch textbooks, he built Japan's very first working models of a steamship and a locomotive. He upgraded these massive reverberatory furnaces to cast heavy iron. He even successfully manufactured state-of-the-art, fast-reloading cannons. Because of the insane engineering skills he had honed by building those mechanical toys, Tanaka helped condense 100 years of Western progress into just over a decade. He provided the crucial technological edge that kept Japan independent. And yet, his most lasting legacy was actually still to come. Having quite literally helped save his country, Japan transitioned into the modern Meiji era. Here, Tanaka shifted his focus away from military defense and went right back to his true passion: helping everyday people. In 1873, at 75 years old, an age when most people have long since retired, he packed up and moved to Tokyo to help the government develop a national telegraph network. By 1875, he opened his own factory in Ginza, putting up a sign that basically said he'd take requests for all kinds of machinery inventions. He was essentially running a 19th century tech startup. And decades later, the direct lineage of this exact factory would merge to become Tokyo Shibapura Electric, better known today as the global tech giant Toshiba. Looking at historical documents like this one, we see Tanaka celebrated alongside other brilliant pioneers like Fujioka Ichisuke, the guy who brought the incandescent light bulb to Japan. Tanaka's practical, hands-on knowledge laid the absolute groundwork for modern Japanese engineering. Because of his relentless work, Japan wasn't just scrambling to imitate the West anymore. They were engaging in true, self-sustaining innovation. I think the most crucial takeaway from Tanaka Hisashige's life is his lifelong mantra. He wanted to manufacture machines useful to the nation and expand the public good. That passionate 19th century spirit, that is the emotional glue connecting his intricate clockwork dolls to the cutting-edge electronics, laptops, and medical equipment that millions of people around the world use every single day. For the Wizard of Bakumatsu, it was never just about the gears or the metal. It was always about the people who were going to use them. Tanaka Hisashige proved that genuine curiosity, when paired with a deep desire to help others, can literally change the course of human history. So I want to leave you with this thought. Armed with all the wild technology at your fingertips today, what magical invention will you build to expand the public good? Keep that spark of curiosity alive, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to engineer our future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.